Hello everyone, you're very welcome to our webinar today looking at the very basics of using Read and Write for Google Chrome. I'm just going to hold off another few moments, quite a few registrants for this afternoon's webinar, so we're just waiting for the last of those to join us today. And while I do that, I'm going to run you through still a bit of housekeeping and what's going to happen today, what we're going to look at. So I imagine most of you are joined the webinar today. You have maybe Google Chrome is your standard platform for working, your usual platform for using with your students, and you've just purchased Read and Write to use with your students as a support tool to help them in a variety of different areas across their education. Maybe you're just new to Google and you have Read and Write already, and you want to see how Read and Write can be maximized across another platform like the Google platform. So that's what we're going to focus on today. In the meantime, just while we're waiting for the last few registrants to sign up, just seeing people coming through there all the time, it's no problem at all. My name is Richard, the Customer Care Manager here at Text Help for Education in the UK and Ireland. No matter where you're joining us from today across the world, I know there's quite a lot of people from the Middle East and from South Africa as well that are joining in with us. Maybe a time less convenient than the rest of us here in the UK and Ireland. So thank you very much for doing that. My contact details are currently on the screen. Feel free to make a note of any of those contact details if you do have any questions about anything that I'm showing you on the screen today. You've got my Twitter handle, you've got my email address there, and also the team telephone number. Just in case I don't happen to be at my phone, if you call that number, that'll get you through to any member of the education team. If there's anything that's maybe caught your interest today that you want to find out a little bit more about, maybe something that I have not covered today that you're maybe interested in, please feel free to get in touch using any of the contact details that are currently on screen. So the housekeeping that I promised, just to go before I go back to the start, those of you that have joined that little bit earlier, so all microphones are muted today. It'd be very difficult for each of you to know who was going to ask a question and when. So what we try to do is try to restrict things to, if you could restrict yourself to using the question panel. Each of you have this little Gotowebinar control panel in front of your screen at the minute. You'll see the question section. Just simply click on the question section and type in any questions as and when they pop into your mind. What I generally do is I keep an eye on that as we're going through the webinar today, and we'll hopefully be able to address any of the questions that you do have as and when they come in. But certainly if you want to hold your question off, or maybe nothing comes to mind until the very end today, I will certainly make plenty of time to answer your questions at the very end. So that's how we can answer any questions. And of course, the webinar is being recorded today. A lot of people like to receive the recording. You'll receive that automatically in 24 hours time. So UK time, 4:30, 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, you'll have the recording of this particular webinar. So thinking of any of your colleagues, even any students, maybe perhaps parents of students as well, that you think would benefit from taking a look at Read and Write and how Read and Write can best support you guys and of course your students, feel free to pass that on to them. We certainly don't have any problem with that, you getting access and passing on access to the recording to anybody that you think would benefit from that. So just going back to the start again, those of you that have just joined in there in the last few seconds, I was just going through some housekeeping with the early sign-ups. My name is Richard. My contact details are all currently on your screen there, and I work within the UK and Ireland Education Division. So quite a lot of customers from UK and Ireland on today. There's also from the Middle East and also from Africa. So you're very welcome to the webinar today, also wherever you're joining us from across the world today. As I said at the beginning, we are focusing solely on getting started to use Read and Write on the Google platform. It may be that Google is the standard platform that you use in your school, your college, your university, and you're wanting to see how the tools of Read and Write today can really support all of your students, in a wide variety of subject areas, and to help them with a wide variety of different challenges that they may face on a day-to-day basis as well. It may be that you're starting to explore Google as a platform and you have Read and Write already, and you're here to see how Read and Write can be used on the Google platform with Google Docs, with the Google Chrome browser, and so on. And that's exactly what we're here to do. So we're not expecting anybody on the webinar today to be experts. That's my role today. I'm hopefully going to be able to give you lots more information. Hopefully you'll feel a lot more confident after today's webinar on how to use Read and Write for Google Chrome. One of the things that comes up at the end of the webinar today, we do have a short survey. It literally only takes a couple of minutes, maybe not even a couple of minutes, to fill that out, just to hear your feedback on what we've covered today, hearing your feedback on the features that we've covered as well. It's invaluable to us as we're a SaaS company and constantly making improvements and ongoing updates to the software. It's really, really important to hear your feedback so that we can make improvements to what we're providing you with going forward. So if you do have that minute or couple of minutes to spare at the end, there's a multiple choice survey. We'd be very grateful for you to fill in. Just another recap on the housekeeping. Everyone's microphone unfortunately is muted today because it'd be very, very difficult if everyone was trying to ask a question at once. So what we tend to limit the questions to, you'll all see in your GoToWebinar control panel a question section on the screen. Simply click on the question panel and type any question that you have for me into that question panel. I will try my very best to answer your question there and then, even hopefully by providing you with a demo there and then as well to answer your question. But if not, maybe a question won't come into your mind until the very end today. Feel free to ask the question at the end. I'll be in no hurry off the webinar, so ask any questions at the end. I'll make 5 or 10 minutes for you to do that at the very end of the webinar. Text Help website is a fantastic place to go. I'll make a conscious effort to go to the website today in the Google Chrome browser, where there's a training portal. There's also YouTube videos from the training portal as well to support you whenever you're using Read and Write with your students, and of course using Read and Write to prepare resources and things like that for yourselves. Obviously that's where you can also sign up for our webinars, and within the training portal there is various activities and guides in there as well. And just to the back left, there is also technical support available to help you out with any. Hopefully you never actually have to speak to the technical support team. Things will go that smoothly for you. But if you do, if there's ever any advice that you would like when getting Read and Write set up on your network, the team are a very friendly bunch to help you out along the way with that. And of course, for improving pupil skills, there's also a section in the training portal. So we'll make a conscious effort today whenever we're looking at using Read and Write online to go to the Text Help website, and I'll show you how to access all of these areas as well. Oh, okay, so of course, Read and Write is software for your whole organization. Excuse school there. It can also be used by any student in further education and higher education, as well as primary and secondary schools as well. And it is available across every device with a subscription. The blue toolbar at the top right is Read and Write for Windows. The middle one in gray is Read and Write for Google Chrome, and the one on the bottom is Read and Write for Mac. And to be honest, the only difference there that you can see in those toolbars is the color of them, which can be adjusted anyway. And today we're focusing on Read and Write for Google Chrome. On the left-hand side, you can see an iPad. We have a keyboard for iPad and a keyboard for Android tablet as well, with a similar feature set to you're about to see today. It just works slightly differently in the form of a keyboard rather than the toolbar that you'll see occupying my screen today. So initially, Read and Write was definitely developed, as you can tell by the name, to support struggling readers and writers. I suppose that includes students with dyslexia, students who are learning with English as an additional language. Any struggling reader, Read and Write can support. Struggling writers, of course, as well, Read and Write can support. But since then, we have developed the toolbar, continue to develop the toolbar, and of course, Read and Write can now help support your students with study, research, and the organization of this as well. So the toolbar has come a long way since it was first developed, and we've continued to add and improve upon the features that we provide. Of course, we can personalize the help and support that we provide as well. each student has the ability to set up an appropriate toolbar for their own needs. You can see 3 different students here on the screen, and they have 3 very different toolbars depending on their individual needs. And that'll be one of the first things that I'm showing you today, how students can cut down toolbars. If they find they need 6 features to support them, that is perfectly fine. They can have 6 features on their toolbar. But like the younger boy at the bottom, if they require, all 15 features, they can simply have them to support them at all times along the toolbar. One of the other things that we have access to here is called Data Desk, which enables teachers to switch read and write features on and off from one simple control panel that's integrated with Google Classroom, sorry. So this GIF that we can currently see, datadesk.texthelp.com, you would simply sign in with your Google account. You can see me signing into a demo teacher account. And what it allows me to do, if you wanted to restrict access to any of your classes using Data Desk, you could simply select all the students and simply go through each of the features that are currently on screen now, removing certain features from the Read and Write for Google Chrome toolbar. So as long as you're synced with Google Classroom, you'll be able to select, and there's your time frame as well, select various features to remove or add from your student's toolbar. And of course, you can set a time frame or until you indeed set a new configuration. So configuration successfully set, and you can see that there's some features that are now grayed out of my toolbar because I've used Data Desk to do that. So simply datadesk.texthelp.com, sign in with Google, sign into the correct account, and then once you're in and see the feature set, select the students that you want to apply a specific feature set to, and it will simply gray out and only allow access to features that you want them to have access to. So it allows you to manage student access to Read and Write for Google Chrome. There's no IT configuration required. There's an auto sync with Google Classroom. It allows you to manage an entire class or individual students. You can obviously have the ability to pick and choose which features to make available. You have the option to set a time limit, and it's ideal for any testing scenarios that you're using it for. So that is all the background information to what we're going to take a look at today. And we're going to get stuck in and take a look at the Read and Write toolbar straight away in connection with a Google Doc. Going back to basics, and the first thing that we're going to take a look at is the text-to-speech and the universal play icon that we're going to look at first of all. Just one reminder before we do start taking a look at a Google Doc and the Google Chrome toolbar for Read and Write. If you have any questions, feel free to type those into that question panel in the Gotowebinar window, and I will do my best to answer it there and then, but I will get to it, I promise to you, with an answer before the webinar finishes today. So just remember, any questions, let me know via the question panel. Now we'll finish up with this slide. We're going to go to a Google Doc. For those of you that aren't familiar with Read and Write for Google Chrome, you're maybe unfamiliar with how you would even set this up. All we require is your Google domain. I suppose my email address being r.michael@texthelp.com. My Google domain is texthelp.com. So whenever I'm signed into Google, I would have the option of adding the Read and Write for Google Chrome extension to my Google Chrome toolbar. Now, there is the little purple jigsaw, which is iconic as the Read and Write icon. If I simply click on the Read and Write for Google Chrome toolbar, this little toolbar comes down from Google Chrome toolbar with each of the tools and features to allow me to use these in connection with the Google Doc that I've got open at the time, the Google slide I've got open at the time, or indeed the Google Chrome browser page that I've got open at the time as well. Now we're going to look at each of these features in turn that we've got open here today. Some of the features will help us with reading. Some of the features will be able to help us with writing. Some features for study and research. And there's also some little tips that I'm going to give you guys as the teachers or the lecturers or the tutors who will be creating resources, giving feedback to your students as well. And And I suppose these are the little tips to make life as easy for you guys as possible, as well as providing your students with a fantastic range of tools within the toolbar that we can see today. The tips I'm going to provide you will hopefully make life easier for you on a daily basis as well. Now, the first thing that I'm going to show you, if any of you are concerned about the Gotowebinar window that's currently on your screen, you can slide that and drag that about so that it's not taking up any of your screen there. As if you're anyway concerned about it taking up space or you're going to miss something, you can simply drag and move that around your screen. The first feature that I'm going to look at with you is the play icon, the core functionality of Read&Write. It's the ability to have any text on screen read aloud. Now, we're using Read&Write for Google Chrome, so it will allow us to read any Google Docs, any Google Slides, the Google Chrome browser. Now, how do we do that? We simply click where we want to begin reading, and then simply click on the universal play icon.
Speed, distance, and time.
Okay, that's just simply the first line read aloud. Now, two things you'll notice. You'll hear the voice reading the text, and you'll also see the dual highlighting colors applied to that as well, which makes it a lot easier for a student to track and process each word of the text as it's being read aloud. So it's I suppose it's multi-sensory there, when you can see the text being highlighted as it's being read. It's actually a feature that I would use quite a bit, especially whenever I'm tired. It helps me to retain more of the information that I'm reading. The voice that you're hearing there, I'll let you hear a little bit more of it now.
The concept of motion is described by using terms like velocity, speed, distance, and acceleration. For a moving body, speed is the...
And we can stop there. So fantastic for any of your struggling readers, any of the students that are struggling to access the curriculum that you're providing with them, even for just students that are maybe struggling over one word in a sentence and they want to hear the pronunciation of that. And that can be used with, with all the other features of Read&Write as well, to provide comprehension for what that word means as well after hearing it read aloud and hearing it pronounced. If a student still requires a little bit more reinforcement as to what the word means, they have the facility to look it up in the word dictionary or the picture dictionary to help them that little bit more as well. Now, the voice that you're hearing there, the good news is if that wasn't to your taste or if you found it was moving at a pace that was too fast, that can all be fully adjusted. Now, not along the toolbar itself, but if I take you over to the right-hand side of the toolbar, underneath the more, the three little horizontal dots, if I click on more, I've got my options. Of course, you've got the send feedback option. Now, that gives you access to our Read&Write developers. And as I said at the start, they will be delighted to hear of any feedback that you have around Read&Write. Anything that you would like to see improved, if we hear it from you, that's the best chance that we have of getting this into the software, any improvements into the software. If we hear it from the end users, the people that are using Read&Write on a day-to-day basis, that's how we make improvements and adjustments to the software. So if I click on options, this takes us into the general options for making any changes to Read&Write. Now, underneath options here on the left-hand side, we've got a contents table with each of the features, or a lot of the features that we can adjust and make changes to within the Read&Write toolbar. So the top one there is speech, and by clicking on the speech tab, which is already clicked, you can see we can alter and change and adjust the voice, the speed, the reading behavior of Read&Write, and also translation. Starting off with the voice, first of all, that was UK Serena. We have all of the voices that I'm currently scrolling through in the list. You'll see these aren't all English voices, okay? There are some international voices in there as well. The good thing, if I take, for example, I always go for French Thomas. If we select the French voice that we've selected here at the moment, if we have any French text in the Google Doc or any French text in a Google browser, and we select French Thomas, he will read that text in that language. So fantastic for your MFL students that are wanting to practice their pronunciation of French if they're learning an MFL. So that's where we can select our voices from, and remember each of those voices, if you select them, will read that language in that language. The next thing, and a really, really important one that we can adjust, is the speed of the voice. Very, very important to be able to adjust the speed of the voice just simply by sliding the bubble, and it will just give the students the independence of being able to control the voice at a speed that they can fully retain and process the information that they're hearing. I tend to keep it just below that 50, but again, it's just a case of sliding it along the bar to get that speed correct. The reading behaviors here, at the moment, continuous reading is turned on, which simply means that the software will continuously read through the Google Doc until it gets to the bottom. Continuous reading, I suppose if a student isn't going to use Read&Write for anything else other than proofreading, that generally, is a fantastic way to use Read&Write. As the voices are programmed to simply read what's there, they're a very, very effective proofreader for any student to use, which will automatically pick out any mistakes. Before, I suppose, a draft of an assignment is handed in for marking, Read&Write can spot any last errors by proofreading and allow a student to hand in, a more error-free piece of work for assessment. Continuous reading is fantastic for that. However, continuous reading for certain students may move at a pace that's too quick for some students and take away that independence. So something just to be careful of. The option is there, but the option to turn continuous reading off is also there and also exists. The speak on each word allows a student to select speak on each word and have one word read at the time. If it's just maybe one word in a sentence, one word in a paragraph that they're struggling with, they have the option to speak on each word. And obviously speak on each sentence will simply speak a sentence at a time before stopping. Regardless of whether speak on each word is selected or speak on each sentence is selected, if continuous reading is selected, the software will continuously read through the entire document until it gets to the end. And with regard to translation at the bottom, translation allows you to choose any other language that you may want to translate text in your Google Doc to. So just to give you an idea of the various languages that we can translate into. The voices at the top here, the 6 voices, can also be read aloud. And all the other languages we can use as a translating language. Okay. Just while we're in speech and in the general options, I'll give you a run through the other options a little bit later when appropriate. But you can see, and in the presentation, I showed you how different students require different feature sets depending on what they want to use Read&Write for, or depending perhaps on if they're struggling with reading, if they're struggling with certain elements of the writing and require that extra support within a toolbar. They can do that from the features section itself within the options. To remove a feature, like if I wanted to remove check it, which is this little icon from the toolbar, I would simply turn check it off and you can see straight away it disappears from the toolbar. The same with prediction, which looks like this crystal ball. Turn the off button and you can see it's removed from the toolbar. To add prediction again, simply turn the on button on, and that's the features added back to the toolbar. Click on OK, and anytime you press OK, those settings will automatically be saved for you. So just one last time, to have any text read aloud, just simply click where you want to begin reading and click on play.
A higher speed means an object is moving faster.
Okay. That's how we have our text read aloud. One other little piece of information to provide you with in terms of reading text aloud. Here we have a car speedometer. Now, as you can see with the bold blue outline, this is just an image containing some text here at the bottom, but there's no way of me being able to access this text. I'm sure you can hear me frantically trying to click on that text to access it or to highlight it so that I could read it. At the minute, it's just simply inaccessible. It's impossible for me to read. Just to the right of the stop icon here, we have our screenshot reader. And what I'm going to use our screenshot reader for is to, and if I click on screenshot reader, you can see my cursor changes to a little black cross. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a nice neat box around the text on screen. It's now going through optical character recognition, recognizing the text within this image.
Car speedometer.
And it's then read aloud for me. So again, this text, very inaccessible, very difficult for any student to access, especially a student who was struggling to read the text. They can have it read again by pressing the play icon.
Car speedometer.
So that's how we can have any text read aloud first and foremost, and to have it reread to save us drawing the box each time, we can use the play icon.
Car speedometer.
And simply close that down whenever we're finished. So that is really the text-to-speech within a Google Doc. It works in a very similar way online, but we will get to reading text online in just a few moments. When a student is reading through text, like this speed, distance, time, or any other doc that they may have, in order for them to get a comprehension of what they're reading, especially if these terms, a lot of these terms are maybe new terms for them, like motion, concept, velocity, speed, distance, acceleration, are all quite difficult terms, and especially whenever they're new terms in a topic, it's important for a student to have the tools to be able to build an understanding of what they are independently. That is where the word dictionary and the picture dictionary, I suppose it's just called the dictionary, I tend to call it the word dictionary, as it provides you with a word definition of the words. We've got the dictionary and we've got the picture dictionary to help to start build the comprehension of this topic within the student. If I wasn't sure of a word, I could simply highlight it, click on the dictionary icon, okay, and I get a list of dictionary definitions, okay. Use the play icon.
Now, the rate at which something moves or is done. What speed did you drive at?
Okay. The verb then for speed?
Verb. Drive faster than the law allows you to. She was always speeding and she always got caught.
Okay. So that's your dictionary definitions for the term speed. Motion then?
Noun. An official or formal proposal that must be debated or discussed. The motion was passed. Noun. Movement, or the way things move. I didn't like the motion of the waves.
Okay, so two very different definitions of the word motion, so we're covering all definitions of that particular word. Then again, to build and to reinforce what these various terms mean, we can look them up in the picture dictionary as well. So highlight the word, click on the picture dictionary icon, and then to have a visual representation of each of these terms in the text at all times. And again, there's probably a little tip for teachers, for tutors as well. If you're wanting to provide more visual resources, very, very quick way of doing that is any terms that you think may cause difficulty for your students, why not simply drag the image from the picture dictionary in beside the word it represents, just so the student has a visual reminder, visual representation for each of these words within the text. Distance then. And then time. And simply drag and drop in place. Now there is something that can allow us to take this a step further and combine the picture dictionary and the dictionary definition that we've got. So we've used the dictionary, we've used the picture dictionary. I'm going to now use, in connection with the study skills highlighters, which we'll come back to a little bit later for a different purpose. We're going to use these highlighters to highlight words that we maybe still don't have, still don't fully understand. We want to find out a little bit more about these words. We maybe want to have a dictionary definition that we can hear read aloud over and over whenever we're revising. Maybe concept as well, I'm not quite sure. Motion is a difficult term here as well. Velocity, we've already highlighted speed and distance, so acceleration as well, and perhaps quantity and maybe moving. Okay, so these are the words that I maybe don't quite yet understand from this first paragraph. Now these images that I've inserted are very, very easy to remove. They're just any image, like any image that's been added to this Google Doc. So I've just clicked on them, followed by the backspace to get them removed. But we're going to see them very, very shortly because I've highlighted these 9 terms. If I want to have them included in a vocab list, and this is probably something that many of you are already creating for your students, a keyword list or a key vocab list, especially to introduce students to new topics, you can simply click on our vocab table here. As I nickname it, it's vocabulary, as you can see on your screen. If I click on vocabulary, I get a message there from Google saying a new document containing your vocabulary is going to be created. So we'll see a new Google Doc. There we go. There it is appearing. It's just called Vocabulary List Untitled at the minute, but we can change that to whatever we want. And in the vocab list, we've got the word that we've selected and highlighted, the meaning, which is taken from the Talking Word Dictionary, and the symbol, of course, taken from the Picture Dictionary. And it's all placed into a vocab table for us. Okay. Now, there won't be, for certain things, for certain terms, there may not be a Picture Dictionary image, but for most words there will be an image for. Some of the images as well you may want to remove. They may not be as relevant as others, but you've got a very, very good vocab list there, complete with the word, the meaning as well.
The ability to move quickly. You need speed to be good at rugby.
Okay, so you can have any of these definitions read aloud as well as having the symbol. It's quite a good idea as well. The notes column is a really useful column if you're perhaps setting a homework for a group of students as well. You know, now that you know a lot more about what the word speed means, you know, that your homework could be to write a sentence using that word. You know, acceleration the same. Now use acceleration in a sentence for homework. So that's what that 4th column could be used. It's just like any table within a Google Doc as well. You can add to this table. You can add columns to it. You can add rows to it as well. So very, very easy to add to over time as well. Okay. Of course, you would just rename the table. Motion vocab list. And that's now what your new vocab list would be called. So I would title the table in exactly the same way, just to keep everything in line and everything uniform. Going back to the motion document, I'm going to just highlight the text that I have highlighted there using one of the study skills highlighters. What I'm going to do now is, just in case you were worried about those printing off or those staying in the doc, we've got a paintbrush icon just to the right hand side of the 4 highlighters. If I use the clear highlights paintbrush, it removes any of those highlights so that nothing's picked up in future from there. Just to move across now, before we look at a few things online and then come back to a doc, I'm going to move to a new doc that I've got here that we can see straight away there are quite a lot of errors in it. I'm going to move away from the reading and the comprehension side of things to now the writing. So if students are having any difficulty with writing, check it as the ability to check spelling, grammar, homophones, any words that may have been confused for another word, all in one tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the check it feature icon. And what Check It is now doing is checking this entire document for any spelling errors that it can find. You can see that all of the spelling errors that's been found in the doc have been underlined in purple. Okay, so automatically the student knows that, oh, there's something wrong with this first word that's been underlined in purple. So if I click on the word, you can see that the correct word appears as a suggested word. At any stage, if I was to ignore that spelling, it would ignore any time I'd used that word before. So it's important that the student does take a little bit of time and get whatever the correction is correct. There are other ways that the student can be assisted with this. Of course, I can open up the dictionary window, And as I hover over the suggested word, I get a dictionary definition about that. Okay. If I close down the dictionary, open up the picture dictionary, click on deer, so you can see it's not the animal I wanted to use. And as I hover over, what'll happen in just a second, we're maybe short of an image for the word deer. There we go. Okay. I get an image for the word. Now this will come across a lot better with the word glasses. There's no image to represent the word glasses, but if I hover over the list of words, you can see that glasses is the first word that's in that list. So I can't find my glasses. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So I can simply click on glasses and have that inserted into the text. If I still was unsure, I could maybe take the image from there as well, just as a little bit of reinforcement. I have got that right, and I now have spelled that right. That's what the word glasses looks like. So using the picture dictionary, using the word dictionary definitions, it helps me to check my work for any spelling mistakes that I may have made. Suitcase, very unlikely that there'll be an image for suitcase. I don't think it's actually a word that exists, but as I scroll through, you can see it's actually picking up suit there, so no, it's not suit that I'm after, but it is suitcase, and we've got an image of a suitcase in there, which helps me to identify the correct word that I should be using. In station word 4 in there, 4, 5 hours. Okay, and simply insert. So again, using the picture dictionary, the dictionary definitions, those are all learning tools, support tools to help students make the correct decisions and learn from them as they're working as well. To turn off check it, just simply click on the check it icon once you had completed the spell check of your work. Whenever you've completed the spell check, all of the purple underlines would be gone. This is quite an extreme example, but I suppose for some students they may want to take this in chunks and do it chunks at a time, just in case they were becoming overwhelmed with the amount of mistakes that were appearing in here. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of space for the next couple of features that I want to show you in connection with writing. The prediction panel works just like, I suppose, any predictive text. Really, it's a really good predictive text. As I start to type, if I was starting to type a story, I've typed a couple of letters in here, and the prediction panel appears with a list of words that I could use in my text next. So if I want to type, a story, once upon a time, the list of words appears. Now, if I hover over each of these words, they will be read aloud for me.
Once.
Okay, so once is what I want to start my story with.
Upon. A. Time. When.
Okay, so you get the idea how the prediction panel works. As I start to type, words are predicted into the prediction panel for me. Just going to take you to, I'm going to turn off prediction just for now. I'm just going to take you to the prediction options where we can change and adjust the behavior of prediction. The number of results can be increased up to 10, or if you find if the students that may provide the students with too many results, you can decrease that all the way down to 3. The general settings for prediction is that it's set to follow the cursor and predict ahead of you as well. And also the sample text can be increased or decreased as well. You get a sample of the text. So the words as they're predicted, this is a sample of the text, the size of the text as it will appear in the prediction panel if the student was having any difficulty reading the text in this particular doc. As well as having prediction to assist with writing, I'm just going to move to another new line here. Made a bit of a mess of this doc, but we'll fix it up later. Is the talk and type within Google. The talk and type within Google is the speech recognition. Now, this is something that's been developed by Google, but because of the demand for talk and type and speech input in Google Docs, we decided to add a shortcut to the Read and Write toolbar, and it complements the text-to-speech that's developed by TextHelp really nicely as well. So the talk and type Just be careful not to talk when the microphone's picking me up. So click on the talk and type icon. The microphone symbol appears on your screen, and I have been waiting all year for this holiday, full stop. I can't believe it's finally here, full stop. So you can see a couple of sentences there. I've been able to put in the punctuation as well into that sentence, and it's two pretty perfect, quite basic sentences, but they're pretty perfect. Another sentence that we would use quite a bit, and from another document, slightly longer. A volcano is a conical hill or mountain formed by material from the mantle being forced through an opening or vent in the Earth's crust, full stop. So quite a more difficult paragraph there, longer paragraph as well. And apart from one capital H and the word hill, that's pretty perfect as far as I can see. So very, very powerful tool again to support your students' writing. So we've got prediction, we've got the talk and type, and for any spelling errors, we've got the check it feature to help with any spelling errors that the student identifies at the end of their text. And the nice thing with check it as well, working in connection with the dictionary and the picture dictionary as well. I'm going to move to a web page for you now, and to do that I'm going to use probably the most simple but yet very, very effective feature within Read&Write. And I'm going to find out perhaps maybe a little bit more about what motion is, or what do we see? Well, maybe use a few different words here: speed, distance, and time. So I've performed a Google search for speed, distance, and time, and let's see what we can find. We'll go to BBC. We'll hopefully have some information that we can use on speed, distance, and time. Now you'll have noticed as I go to the speed, distance, and time website on GCSE BBC Bite Size, the Read&Write toolbar has disappeared. Okay, we just need to reactivate that. So like before, click on the Read&Write icon on the Google Chrome toolbar, and the Read&Write toolbar comes back into view. I was clicking on the wrong side there for navigation. Now, a few of the things that we can use the toolbar for, we can use it for everything else that we've already looked at today in the Google Doc, like distance. I'm not quite sure about distance. I can look that up in the picture dictionary. Now, obviously, given the nature of the web page, I can't insert the image into the web page, but it's there. It's a visual aid to help me understand what that particular word means. One feature, for those of you who have been paying close attention to the toolbar today, we have hover speech now in here as well, which gives us the ability to simply hover the cursor over the screen. So hover speech, and simply hover your cursor over the text.
Calculations involving distance, speed, and time can be worked out using formulae.
Okay, and hover over again.
When doing these calculations, the units used should be consistent.
Okay. And we can simply stop and turn off hover speech. So just another way of helping you be able to read web pages. Really, really easy whenever you're browsing through. You just simply click and hover the mouse cursor over any text to have it read out. Whenever you're studying, carrying out research, looking for important research online, you can use that hover speech for that. Now, one of the other reasons I wanted to take you to a web page today is to show you how we can capture text. If we are carrying out a research project for speed, distance, time, we can use the highlighters here to capture this from a web page. I'm going to keep going with my research here, and I've highlighted a couple of sections of this page using yellow and using green. Now, if I wanted to have this placed into a new Google Doc at the start of an assignment or at the start of a draft of an assignment, all I would do is simply click on Collect Highlights. Okay. Now I've got the option to collect by color, so yellow would be first, blue second, green third, and pink fourth, or the position that it appeared in the web page. So position higher up on the page, the higher up will be in the Google Doc. So we'll just select color for now. So the yellow will still be first and the green second. Now when I click on OK, get the message saying a new document containing your highlights is being created, a bit like the vocab table. And there we go, the yellow highlights. If I go back to the web page, so you can see the speed, distance, and time formula in yellow. And on the next page, this green section has appeared in green just below. So fantastic for students that are compiling research. The colors that are in there, the 4 different colors, can be used to color coordinate the research as well, to structure that in a way that various topics are kept to the same color, and so on. All the speed, distance, time section may be kept to the yellow, another section may be kept to green, and so on. It provides the students with that option. Now just below here, we've got the hyperlink. If we found this to be a fantastic website to find information from, to find our research from, we've got the hyperlink already there below the text that we've captured, so that we can easily access that again in the future. Just going to highlight the highlights again and use the paintbrush to remove any of those highlights. Now, I had promised before we finished up today that I was going to go to the texthelp.com website. Now, I'll do this very, very quickly. Bear in mind as well that you'll get access to the recording. So as long as I show you this very, very quickly, at least you'll be able to see in more detail if you want to go back in the recording to view this. If you need any help at all, and this is going back to the slide that I showed you from the presentation, we have our technical support forum where there are technical support articles there to help you if you do have any difficulties. The training and resources section of the website is fantastic. That is where our training portal is, our training materials, and our feature videos are stored. The feature videos are all on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. The training materials consist of large training manuals for each of our software solutions, and definitely worth exploring. And of course, the training portal is full of courses for you to take, depending on whether you're a teacher, you're a student. There are courses that are applicable to everyone within the training portal. Okay. And of course, then our events and webinars is our webinar section. A few familiar faces there on screen. So get those from your Read and Write today. So let's get started today by signing up for the live webinars, or our pre-recorded shorter coffee cup webinars, as we call them. They're designed to give you information about Read and Write in 5 or 10 minutes. Using our website and going back perhaps to the training and resources section, if you want to create an Mp3 file at any stage, which is another major part of the toolbar here, fantastic for students who are creating revision notes and find it easier to retain and process the revision notes by listening to Mp3 files. They can simply highlight any of the text they want to convert to Mp3 file, click on Audio Maker, and you can see the little blue progress bar, okay, meaning that it's been completed. And any of you that are using this will know that any of these audio files, they will be stored under your downloads, and that's where you'll get access to them at the very end. So click on the audio file.
At TextHelp, we are famous for our innovative, high-quality assistive software solutions that help people communicate with more confidence in all walks of life. Technology can be the spark for wonderful things, but its real value comes from empowering users whenever and wherever they need help.
Okay. So that's opened up and being read aloud with my default media player, which happens to be Groove Music there. Example taken from our very own website, but any Google Doc will work exactly the same way. Any text on a Google slide, select it and click on the Audio Maker to be able to read that aloud. Folks, apologies slightly. I've managed to go over my time with you today, and hopefully I have given you plenty of good ideas and a good way to get started with using Read and Write for Google Chrome. Hopefully I've provided you with plenty of ideas and insights that I've heard in the past and that I would use myself and are used within TextHelp and various other schools and colleges that have been using Read and Write for years on the Google platform. Contact details are currently on the screen, the email address and my Twitter handle as well. Feel free to give me a follow. I would quite often advertise our webinars on Twitter as well. As I said earlier on, I will be online for the next 5 or 10 minutes to answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to continue to type in to that question panel any questions that you may have, and I'll get back to you with an answer as soon as I can. So thank you very much once again for joining me today, and I'll be online for the next few moments, but if I don't hear from you, thanks again, and I'll hopefully hear from you soon.